Hello, my name is Connor Beck. I'm going to be doing my Google Earth volcano video project for Geology 1010. And the first volcano I decided to choose was Mount St. Helens. Mount St. Helens is located in Washington, kind of the southwest area of Washington. You can see it here. Its coordinates are roughly 46 degrees north and 122 degrees west. The last time it erupted was on July 10th, 2008, so fairly recently. But it's mostly known for its eruption in 1980. And you can see here the giant crater that was left after it exploded. The damage was pretty immense. About 57 people were killed directly, and when it exploded, ash and the column of smoke and ash rose. I believe it was about 80,000 feet into the atmosphere. Oh, that might be a little exaggerated. That seems way too high. Yeah. Yeah, here it says 9,600 feet. Yeah, so I don't know what they got that number. That 800,000 feet sounds way too high. Regardless, it rose that pretty high, and it caused $3 billion worth of damage. It's also that single event was the most deadly volcanic event in the history of the United States as well. So just to kind of put that in context. The next volcano we're going to visit is Mount Hood. It's located in the state south of Washington, Oregon. And every time I do this, Mount Hood, it's actually right here. Here we go. So Mount Hood is not as flashy as Mount St. Helens. Its coordinates, we'll do the coordinates first, are 45 degrees north, 122 degrees west, roughly. Its last eruption was in 1907, so it's been quite a while. It doesn't have a history of violent explosions like Mount St. Helens does. Rather, it has a history of creating lava flows that just kind of flow down the mountain rather slowly, sometimes going as far as a little past 8 miles from the original source. But just because it doesn't erupt a lot doesn't mean it's not dangerous. On Christmas in 1980, a mud flow that was caused by one of the lava flows. So mud flow, it's called a lahar. It creates a mud flow that goes down the mountain. Apparently, it killed a camper in 1980 on Christmas Day. Regardless, it's a very hot skiing destination. So it's a rather tame volcano. People are skiing on it. And our next volcano, there's not a lot to say about Mount Hood, unfortunately, but our next volcano is going to be Mount Fuji. And I hope that's the right one, because there's also a Fuji Mountain located in Oregon. Okay, yep, we're in the right spot. Mount Fuji is located in Japan, roughly 100 kilometers south of Tokyo, and its coordinates are roughly 35 degrees north and 139 degrees east. The last eruption that we know of is December 16th, 1707. And this eruption lasted for 16 days, and it covered most of Tokyo. And on the first day, it apparently destroyed 72 houses and 3 Buddhist temples, just to kind of show how violent this volcano used to be. Apparently, it hasn't erupted since then, and it's currently Japan's tallest peak, and people commonly refer to it as Fuji-san. Alright, so our next volcano, which is probably the most exciting one, is called Mount Etna. Here it is, located in Sicily, Italy. Coordinates being roughly 38 degrees north and 15 degrees east. Its last eruption was actually earlier this year on March 16th, 2017. And it's since 0 BC, or I guess AD, it's erupted 60 times apparently. And in 1852, or from 1852 to 1853, apparently it almost wiped out an entire town. I think the town's called Zaffarana. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But it is one of the most active volcanoes in the world, and probably the one on this list that has the most, that I have the most to say about. Back apparently in ancient Greece, time of ancient Greece, Mount Etna was so active, people actually incorporated it into the mythology. So apparently in one legend, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Hephaestus, I think it's the god of smithing, and his Cyclops used Mount Etna as their workshop. So apparently in ancient Greek lore, it was the workshop of the god of smithing. In other legends, it was, and one other legend, it was the bedroom of a giant. So you can see how it being so active has created an imprint on human history. And apparently it erupts in all sorts of styles, from lava flows to the same kind of eruption that buried Pompeii, just a little bit north. And that is all I'm going to say on Mount Etna, although there's probably much more to talk about. And our last volcano, if I can get there. Our last volcano is going to be Mount Mayon, which is located on the largest island of Luzon in the Philippines. It's also the most famous volcano in the Philippines. Its coordinates are roughly 13 degrees north and 124 degrees east. The last time it erupted was fairly recently in September 18th, 2014. To give you the sort of idea of the damage it can cause, in 1814 it killed more than 1,200 people and wiped out several towns. It has frequent smaller eruptions, so it's fairly active, but even these smaller eruptions are still cause for mass evacuations in the areas around it. It's also known as the perfect cone, as a fun fact, just due to its symmetry. You can kind of see it right here. And like I said, it's one of the most famous. It is the most famous volcano in all the Philippines. All right, that ends my project. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and have a good day.